April 24th, 2018, Citrus Heights, California. Downtown City, Sacramento, California, a quiet suburb of Sacramento. Morning. Jamsi Empty water. A 72-year-old man is eating breakfast with his granddaughter. They're talking about her day at school. Normal conversation. Normal grandfather. Normal morning. Outside, unmarked police cars are surrounding the house. I deutsche Toy. Terminisu. Ansundari. Tyobum C. FBI. Sacramento Sheriff. Detectives who've worked this case for decades. They've been waiting 40 years for this moment, waiting to say the words they never thought they'd say. We got him. The Golden State Killer. California's most prolific serial killer. Missing for 4 decades. Was living here. As a grandfather. As a neighbor. As someone's husband. Normal. .tv. Gabi Sayancha. Nyamel. Date. Kobio. Dave Tabnistai. Do. Until he wasn't. His name is Joseph James DeAngelo. Former police officer. Dardani. Navy veteran. Married. Disht. Missouri. Desia. Manemtaida. Tish. Yeah. Boy. 3 daughters. Grandchildren. Doris. Kevia. Lives on a quiet street. Fixes his fence. Tends his yard. Argues about garbage cans with neighbors. Ordinary. Except between 1974 and 1986, he was a monster. He broke into homes, raped women, bought doctor, murdered couples, terrorized entire communities, then stopped, vanished, became normal again, or pretended to be. And for 40 years, no one knew. No one suspected. The Golden State Killer became the invisible man. Until DNA, until genetic genealogy, until science caught up with evil. This is his story, and the story of how he was finally caught. 18th, 1976, Parinta, Rancho Cordova, California. A young woman wakes up at 2 a.m. There's a man in her bedroom. Masked. Morning. New 2. Flashlight in her eyes. Knife at her throat. He whispers, "Don't scream or I'll kill you." She's terrified. Paralyzed. He binds her hands. Blindfolds her. Does unspeakable things. Then leaves. Taking his time, going through her house, eating food from her refrigerator, stealing small items. No hurry, no panic, complete control. She reports it. Police investigate. Find little evidence. No fingerprints. No DNA technology yet. Just a victim. And a predator still hunting. This wasn't his first attack. Wouldn't be his last. Between 1974 and 1986, the man who became known as the Golden State Killer attacked over 120 homes, 50 confirmed rapes, 13 murders, hundreds of burglaries, multiple names. Over the years, the Visalia ransacker, Bo, the East Area rapist, dead twice, the original Night Stalker, same person, Different locations, different time periods, but always the same pattern. Always the same terror. He chose victims carefully, stalked them, learned their schedules, then struck when they were most vulnerable. Usually at night, usually in their homes, where they should have been safe. His method was terrifying. He'd break in while people slept, wake them with flashlight and weapon, bind them with shoelaces he brought. If a couple, he'd separate them, put dishes on the man's back, tell him, if I hear these dishes move, I'll kill her. Then attack the woman, sometimes for hours, then eat their food, go through their belongings, sometimes call them days later, taunting, bunting, reminding them he could come back anytime. The psychological torture was as bad as the physical. Victims lived in fear forever. Many moved, changed names, never felt safe again. That was part of his pleasure, the lasting fear, the permanent damage. December 30th, 1979, part of his first known murder. Dr. Robert Offerman and Alexandria Manning. Dartutsi. DeAngelo and Anaya Tesau, found shot dead in their home in Goleta. The attacker had broken in, bound them, then killed them. No apparent sexual assault this time, just murder. The violence was escalating. Over the next 7 years, 11 more people would die. Keith and Patrice Harrington, Manuela Vitun, Tox, Maisia, Betsonans, Bitchen, Besnixit, Charlene and Lyman Smith, Cherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez, Debtai, Cotto, Yanel Cruz, all murdered in their homes, all by the same man. DNA would later prove it, but in the 1980s, police didn't know. Different jurisdictions, different investigators. They didn't connect the cases, didn't know one killer was responsible for terror across California. Then he stopped. 1986. Tim, 86. After murdering 18-year-old Janelle Cruz in Irvine, he just disappeared. No more attacks. No more murders. Nothing. Had he died? Moved? Been imprisoned for something else? Police didn't know. Cases went cold. Victims tried to move on. Investigators retired. Time passed, and the Golden State Killer became legend. A ghost. The one who got away. The perfect predator who vanished without trace, leaving behind only victims, only trauma, only questions. For 32 years, silence. While Joseph DeAngelo lived his normal life, raised his family, attended barbecues, complained about noise, shopped at grocery stores, free, unpunished, hidden in plain sight. Tiao. Kiss. Published of the Shines. For decades, the case haunted California law enforcement. Different agencies had pieces. Sacramento Sheriff investigating East Area rapist. Southern California detectives working original Night Stalker murders, White Stalker murders. They didn't know it was same person until 2001. DNA technology advanced. Old evidence was retested. The DNA matched. The ransacker, the rapist, the Night Stalker. That show one, same man. Suddenly, they weren't looking for multiple offenders. They were looking for one prolific monster who terrorized entire state for 12 years, then vanished. The task force formed. Investigators shared information, but they had nothing. No name, no face, just DNA. .pg. And DNA only helps if you have someone to compare it to. The FBI profile painted a picture. White male, probably military or law enforcement background. Organized, disciplined, physically fit, knowledgeable about police procedures. Likely lived or worked in areas where he struck. Probably still alive. Probably living normal life. The profile was accurate, but it described thousands of men. How do you find one monster among millions? Police ran DNA through every database. Go to state databases. Nothing matched. He'd never been arrested for violent crime. Never submitted DNA. Was invisible to system. Pansai, accessible to system. Investigators interviewed thousands of suspects. Cleared them all. The case seemed impossible. Unsolvable. A perfect crime. Or rather, 100 perfect crimes. By one perfect predator. Beatrice. Enter Michelle McNamara. She is called Doxtay McNamara. True crime writer. Journalist. She became obsessed with the case in 2006. Read everything. Interviewed everyone. Connected evidence across jurisdictions. She coined the name Golden State Killer to unify the different attacks under one identity. She believed he could be caught, would be caught. She devoted years to investigating, writing, pushing police, keeping case alive. Her book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, was published in 2018, 2 years after her death. She didn't live to see him caught, but her work helped. Her obsession kept pressure on, kept case in public eye, kept investigators motivated. She believed in justice, and justice came, just too late for her to see. By 2017, the case seemed hopeless. 40 years old. No new leads. Original investigators retired or dead. Victims aging. Memories fading. Then, a detective named Paul Holes had an idea. He'd worked the case for 24 years. Was about to retire. Had one last shot. He'd heard about new technique. Genealogy. Using DNA to find relatives through family tree websites like Ancestry.com. Get much kind take to ye. Or Denises Cortifications. People uploaded DNA looking for cousins, for ancestry, for family history. What if police could upload the killer's DNA? Find his relatives? Build family tree backward? Find him through his family? It was revolutionary, unprecedented, and possibly their last hope. Paul Holes partnered with genealogist Barbara Ray Venter. She specialized in using DNA to solve mysteries, adoption cases, unknown parentage. She'd never worked criminal case, but she understood the science, the method. You upload DNA profile to genealogy database. System finds matches. People who share DNA, distant cousins usually. Then you build family trees, going back generations, finding common ancestors. then forward to present day, narrowing possibilities until you find your target. It's detective work, but with DNA and family trees and databases full of people who volunteered their information, never knowing it might catch a killer. They created fake profile, uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA to GetMatch, a public database, waited. The system found matches, distant relatives. Distant relatives, third cousins, fourth cousins, people who shared tiny percentages of DNA with the killer. But it was enough. Barbara started building family trees. Hours became days. Days became weeks. She traced lineages, found common ancestors. Peacetime, common ancestors, then worked forward, eliminating branches, narrowing suspects. The family tree grew. Hundreds of people, thousands of connections, until she had a short list. Men who fit the age, the location, the profile. One name kept appearing: Joseph James DeAngelo. But born 1945, dead, former cop, but me, lived in Citrus Heights. It was him. They knew it, but they needed proof. April 2018. Surveillance began. Police watched DeAngelo, followed him, documented his movements. They needed his DNA, direct sample, to confirm the match. They couldn't just ask, couldn't arrest without proof. So they waited for him to discard something, anything with DNA. He went to Hobby Lobby, parked his car, went inside. When he left, there was opportunity. Police retrieved items from his car. A tissue. They'd seen him use it. Sent it to lab, tested DNA, compared it to evidence from crimes 40 years ago. Perfect match. They had him. After 40 years, after 50 rapes, after 13 murders, after thousands of hours, after decades of frustration, they had him. Joseph James DeAngelo. To be honest, Justice Gentier. Cursed child, the Golden State Killer. Living in plain sight. About to be caught. April 24th, 2018. Early morning, the arrest team assembled. FBI, Sacramento Sheriff. Me. Bati Senesi de Dine, Water Spice. Shady. I did Galo, Dumpty. Detectives who'd worked case for decades. Some were retired. Came back for this. For closure. For justice. They surrounded DeAngelo's house. Knocked on door. He answered, confused. Old, frail looking. Not the terrifying figure from victims' nightmares. Just old man. They said the words. Joseph James DeAngelo, you're under arrest for murder. He didn't resist. Didn't fight. Just asked. I have a roast in the oven. Worried about his dinner. While they arrested him for 13 murders. The disconnect was chilling. This man. This grandfather. This normal-seeming person. Was monster. Cheek. That be mom. was Killer. Ma was Rapist. Tottenham. Jedes sie Wohnteil. Young to the size who destroyed hundreds of lives and was worried about his roast. Evil doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Joseph James DeAngelo Jr. Born November 8, 1945. Working class family. Served in Navy during Vietnam War. But returned to California. Attended college. Got degree in criminal justice. Became police officer. Dartar. Exeter Police Department. First, Dutton Down. Then, Auburn Police Department. He was cop, button, sworn to protect, while being predator, while planning attacks, while studying victims. His police training helped him. He knew how investigations worked, how to avoid evidence, how to confuse police. He was insider, using his knowledge to commit crimes, while wearing badge. The irony is sickening, the betrayal profound. He married in 1973. But Sharon Marie Huddle. They had 3 daughters, lived in various California cities, appeared normal. Neighbors described him as quiet, odd maybe, but harmless. He mowed his lawn, fixed his car, attended his daughter's events. Normal father, daughter, normal husband. But nights he was hunting, planning dirty, attacking. His family had no idea. His wife claimed she didn't know. Investigators believed her. He compartmentalized, separated his lives. Family man by day, monster by night. It's textbook psychopathy. No remorse, no empathy, just performance, performing normalcy, while being anything but. He was fired from Auburn Police in 1979. Shoplifting guy, dog repellent, and a hammer. From a store, while on duty, in uniform. He was a cop stealing. The department fired him. Embarrassed. He lost his badge, and the attacks escalated. After losing job, he started murdering. The shoplifting was August 1979. First murders were December 1979. 4 months later, 19 guy. Dental Scoutis, 2 months. Died. Did losing his identity as cop trigger something? Did it remove last restraint? We'll never know. He never explained, never gave reason. Just continued his pattern until 1986. Maun. Ding. Dao 1986. Then stopped completely. Why? That's also mystery. Most serial killers don't just stop. But he did, or seemed to. Lived quiet life for 32 years until arrest. His home was searched after arrest. Evidence everywhere. Hundreds of items stolen from victims. Decades old. Kept as trophies. Photographs Chivalry. Driver's licenses. He'd kept them. Proof of his crimes. Memories of his power. Police found his secret stash. In his garage. In his yard. Buried. Hidden. Tony Duisi. At Galilee. Lord High. Besivika. But preserved. He couldn't let go. Couldn't forget. The items gave him pleasure. Reminded him of what he'd done. Of people he'd terrorized. Murdered. These weren't random killings. These were planned. Deliberate. Savard. He was organized predator who enjoyed his work and wanted to remember it forever. His family was devastated. His daughters gave statements, said they never knew, never suspected. One daughter became psychologist, taught, specializing in trauma. The irony. Her father caused trauma for decades. While she treated it, did she sense something? Did his daughters see signs? We don't know. They refused to speak publicly. His wife divorced him, filed within months of arrest. Their marriage was based on lie, on performance, on monster pretending to be human. For 45 years, she slept next to him, never knowing or never admitting. Either way, her life was destroyed by truth, by revelation, by discovering the man she married never really existed. Just the monster wearing his face. The trial was scheduled. Evidence was overwhelming. DNA from multiple crime scenes matched DeAngelo. Stolen items in his possession. Timeline fit perfectly. Victims ready to testify. Some waiting 40 years to face him, to tell him what he did to them, to see him punished. But trial never happened. In June 2020, DeAngelo pled guilty. All charges. Multiple counts of murder. Multiple counts of kidnapping. Sexual assault charges couldn't be prosecuted. Statute of limitations had expired. But murders had none. He pled guilty to 13 murders. To avoid death penalty. Accepted life in prison without parole. Multiple consecutive life sentences. He'd die in prison, but he'd avoid execution. Victims were furious, but accepted plea. Ensured conviction. Ensured he'd never be free. That was something. The sentencing hearing lasted days. August 2020. Victim after victim testified. Impact statements. Describing attacks. Describing trauma. Describing trauma. Describing 40 years of fear. Of nightmares. Broken lives. Some were elderly now. Had lived entire lives as victims. Never able to heal. Never able to forget. They told DeAngelo what he'd done. What he'd taken. What he'd destroyed. He sat there, impassive, showing nothing. No remorse. No tears. No acknowledgement. Just blank stare. Empty eyes? He heard them, but didn't care. Never cared. That's who he was. Is monster without conscience, without humanity, without soul. Family members of murder victims spoke. Gay, and Bob Hardwick. Their son, Keith, and his wife, Patris, were murdered on their wedding night, also in 1980. They were newlyweds, starting their lives. DeAngelo took everything. Manuela, Vittun's family. She was alone at home. 1981. Daughter, murdered in her bed. Greg Sanchez and Cherry Domingo, dating, no, murdered in their sleep. 1981. North. Janelle Cruz's family. She was 18, home alone. 1986. Pepero, his last victim. Each family told DeAngelo, "You destroyed us. You took our loved ones. You stole our futures. You're evil. And now, finally, you'll pay." But payment seems inadequate. Prison seems insufficient for the magnitude of his crimes, for the scale of his evil. What punishment equals 50 rapes, 13 murders, hundreds of burglaries, thousands of lives affected? There is none. Justice is hollow. But it's all we have. DeAngelo was given chance to speak. Address the court. The victims, the families. He stood, mumbled a few words. "I'm truly sorry to everyone I've hurt." That was it. 4 decades of terror, 13 murders, 50 rapes. And that's his apology. Mumbled, brief, but calm, Demi, no, dead seas, Deo, Bena, Yandakiti. Dia tour, Amarcial to Taritsa. Gordo, Iaragaquit. Insulting even. Victim scoffed. The family's ragged. Sorry. Sorry doesn't bring back loved ones. Doesn't erase trauma. Doesn't heal wounds. It's nothing. Empty word from empty man. The judge sentenced him 11 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole, plus 15 life sentences with possibility of parole, plus 8 years. The arithmetic doesn't matter. He'll never leave prison, never breathe free air, never hurt anyone again. He's 78 years old now. He'll die in prison, alone, doomed, forgotten. Exactly what he deserves. Paul Holmes, the detective who never gave up, attended sentencing. He'd retired by then, but this was his case, his obsession, his success. After 24 years, after countless dead ends, after almost giving up, he caught the Golden State Killer. Used genealogy? Thought revolutionary method. That's now standard practice. Hundreds of cold cases have been solved using this technique. The method Holmes pioneered. Because of this case, because he wouldn't quit, because he believed science could catch monsters that time couldn't. He was right. And his success changed everything. Changed how cold cases are investigated, how old evidence is used, how DNA databases can serve justice. The Golden State Killer case is landmark, not just for catching DeAngelo, but for creating a tool that catches others, that will catch more. That shows you never really get away. Eventually, science catches up. Genetic genealogy is now mainstream. Law enforcement across America uses it. FBI, Deutsch, Local police, cold case units. They upload DNA from old crimes to genealogy databases, find matches, build family trees, identify suspects. The method has solved over 200 cold cases since 2018. Murderers caught after 30, 40, 50 years. Rapists identified. Families given closure. But, dirty. All because of technique used to catch DeAngelo. The Golden State Killer case proved it works. Made it acceptable. Made it standard. Now, every cold case with DNA has chance. Has hope that eventually, someday, science will identify killer. Will bring justice. Justice, however delayed. But the method is controversial. Privacy concerns. Civil liberties questions. When you upload DNA to find ancestors, you're also potentially helping police find your criminal relatives. Is that fair? Is that legal? Is that ethical? Courts are deciding. Laws are being written. Some states restrict use. Others embrace it. The debate continues. But the genie is out of bottle. Technology exists. Can't be uninvented. And for victims' families, for people waiting decades for answers, privacy concerns seem small compared to justice concerns. Maybe balance can be found. Maybe regulations can protect both. But for now, the tool exists. And it works. And it's catching monsters. Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, became bestseller after DeAngelo's arrest. Her husband, comedian Patton Oswalt, finished it after her death, published it posthumously. The book detailed her obsession with case, her investigation, her belief he'd be caught. She was right. 6 weeks after publication, he was arrested. She didn't live to see it. Deet, in her sleep, 2016. Heart condition. Aga 46. Pumpende. And he's 46. Pumpanising no delu. Too young. Too soon. But her work mattered. Her book mattered. Her obsession kept case alive. Inspired investigators. Kept pressure on. Patton Oswalt said at sentencing, Michelle was right. You were just a man, a tiny man. No longer a monster. No longer a ghost. Just a caught criminal. Ordinary. Pathetic. Defeated. The case taught us evil can hide in plain sight. Your neighbor, your co-worker, your community member could be monster. We can't always tell, can't always see. But we can be vigilant. We can support victims. We can demand justice. We can fund investigations. We can advance science. We can refuse to forget. That's what caught DeAngelo. Not giving up. Not letting case go cold. Not accepting that some crimes can't be solved. They can. With time. With technology. With determination. The Golden State Killer terrorized California for 12 years. Then hid for 40 more. But he didn't escape. Couldn't escape. Science caught him. And science will catch others. That's the promise. That's the hope. That's the legacy. 13 people were murdered by Joseph James DeAngelo, Brian and Katie Maggiore. Dice D. Heidi Die Die K. Robert Offerman and Deborah Manning. Keith and Patrice Harrington, Manuela Bithorn, Charlene and Lyman Smith, Cherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez, Janelle Cruz. T-Signates, Jadoside. Say their names. Remember them. They weren't just victims. They were people. With lives. With families. With futures. DeAngelo took everything from them. For no reason they'd understand. For no reason that makes sense. Just because he wanted to. Because he could. Because he was a monster wearing human face. They deserve to be remembered, honored, not as victims, but as people whose lives mattered, who were loved, who are missed. Every day, by families who never got to say goodbye. 50 women were raped by DeAngelo. Some were attacked multiple times. Some were teenagers. Some were in their homes with husbands bound nearby, forced to listen, unable to help. The trauma is indescribable. Many never recovered, never felt safe, never moved on. Some committed suicide, some divorced, some changed names, moved states, tried to escape memories that wouldn't fade. DeAngelo destroyed lives without killing. That's its own kind of murder. Murder of peace, of security, of trust. These women survived, but barely. And they lived with his crimes every day for decades until he was caught. Justice came. But healing, that takes longer, maybe never completes. That's his legacy. Lasting pain, permanent damage. Detortai, harmless, testimonial damage. That's what evil does. Joseph DeAngelo is 79 years old now, serving his sentence in California State Prison. Protected custody, away from general population, for his safety, because even criminals hate what he did. He'll die in prison, probably soon. Old age, health problems. He won't make parole, won't ever be free. Will be forgotten. Just another dead murderer. No one will mourn. No one will care. He'll be buried, unmarked, grave, probably, and the world will move on. Without him, without his terror, without his shadow. That's the victory. Not his death, but his irrelevance. He wanted to be remembered, wanted to be feared, wanted to be powerful. Instead, he's just a sad old man, in prison, forgotten, defeated, exactly where he belongs. Techniques that caught DeAngelo are evolving. DNA phenotyping. Creating sketches from DNA. Showing what suspect looks like. Hair color, eye color. Skin tone. Facial features. From DNA alone. It's science fiction becoming reality. Combined with genetic genealogy, with improving databases, with advancing technology. But cold cases aren't cold anymore. They're just waiting. Waiting for science to catch up. Waiting for technique to improve. Waiting for breakthrough. It's coming. Coming. For every unsolved case, every waiting family, every buried victim. Science is coming. And when it arrives, justice follows. That's the promise. That's the hope. That's what Golden State Killer case proved. If you committed crime years ago, decades ago, thought you got away with it. Know this: DNA doesn't age, evidence doesn't expire, and science improves every year, every month. Technology that didn't exist when you committed crime exists now, and it's getting better. Genealogy, phenotyping, advanced analysis. Your DNA is fingerprint, unique. Tarame, Maitsioshi, Galantedota, Yatsin, Tea Desho, Adwer, Era Dadaru, Ited, Got Co, unchangeable. And if you left it behind, it's waiting in evidence locker, Tarjut, in storage, in database, waiting for science to identify you, to find you, to catch you. You think you're safe. You think enough time has passed. You're wrong. DeAngelo thought so too. For 40 years, he was wrong. You are too. Science is patient. Justice is inevitable. And eventually, you'll be caught. Just like he was. This has been the story of the Golden State Killer. She won. Adamarwem. Chuwan Padim Su. Joseph. James DeAngelo Kunt. Anakin Sexire. Monster who terrorized California for 12 years, then hid for 40 more. Who was caught by genetic genealogy, by science, by investigators who wouldn't quit, who was sentenced to life in prison, where he'll die, forgotten, irrelevant, defeated. His victims finally have justice, finally have closure, finally have peace. The families finally have answers, finally know who destroyed their loved ones, finally see him punished. It took 40 years, but it came. Justice came because people refused to forget, refused to give up, refused to accept that some monsters escape. They don't. Not anymore. Not with science. Not with DNA. Not with genetic genealogy. Evil can hide, but it can't hide forever. Eventually, it's found. And when it is, it's destroyed, just like the Golden State Killer. Remember his victims. Remember their names. Remember that justice delayed is not justice denied. It just takes time. And science. And people who won't forget. Thank you for remembering with me.